Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute to the debate on the message of the State of the Nation. Mr. Speaker, ably delivered by the President of the Republic yesterday in accordance with Article 67 of our national constitution. Mr. Speaker, from the outset, let me state, Mr. Speaker, that across the world, particularly in the jurisdiction of the United States, where the message of the State of the Nation is become characteristic and they are reputed for. Mr. Speaker, presidents are to be candid when they are delivering address on the State of the Nation. And Mr. Speaker, they use such platforms to unite the country and also to articulate a clear vision as to where the country is headed. And Mr. Speaker, yesterday, when the President appeared before this House to deliver the message of the State of the Nation, Mr. Speaker, the first observation any objective observer or listener will attest to or will make is the fact that the President was absolutely candid. He told the country the state of the Ghanaian nation, where we are coming from, where we are, and where we are heading to. And Mr. Speaker, the President was not only candid, he used the message of the State of the Nation to rally the country towards the program of his government for the rest of the year. Mr. Speaker, secondly, as the President rightly pointed out, the major pillars for economic transformation, the major pillars of nation building are solid. And I begin with the sector or the area of education. Mr. Speaker, the President said at page 14, and I respectfully want to quote him, and I quote, "A foreign statesman once posed the question, why am I the first member of my family in 1,000 generations to have gone to the university," end quote. Mr. Speaker, if I will buttress the point the President made, Mr. Speaker, the 32nd President of the United States, President Roosevelt, once said, and I quote, "The real safeguard of democracy is education," end quote. Mr. Speaker, it's a fact. It's a fact. Perhaps with the exception of President Nkrumah, our first president, no president, no Ghanaian president, no government has invested in education as much as the Akufo-Addo government. Mr. Speaker, certainly in the Fourth Republic, no government has invested in education as much as the Akufo-Addo government. And Mr. Speaker, and certainly a comparison between the Akufo-Addo government and the Mahama government when it comes to education, Mr. Speaker, it's like day and night. The investment the Akufo-Addo government has made in education, and education being the surest tool to unleash prosperity and transformation of a nation, the Akufo-Addo government is invested almost tenfold, 10 times more than the Mahama government. Mr. Speaker, when you look at free senior high school, and we have to continue to talk about free senior high school because of its transformative nature. Mr. Speaker, when you look at free senior high school and the contribution is made in terms of enrollment into secondary education and the opportunities is given to Ghanaians, particularly the poor, Mr. Speaker, is phenomenal. Mr. Speaker, the second pillar for development being the natural resources sector of our country. The President pointed it out during his address of the State of the Nation that we have overtaken South Africa to become the leading producer of gold. Mr. Speaker, preliminary estimates suggest that we are heading to produce some 4 million ounces of gold annually, which is totally unprecedented. And Mr. Speaker, on the matter of adding value to our mineral resources and our natural resources generally, the President spoke about it eloquently and made a point about how we are going to build a $450 million refinery for our manganese resources, and how under the Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation, we are building a bauxite and integrated aluminium industry here in Ghana, which will be the bedrock or the foundation, the pillar on which we will industrialize our country through the automobile industry. And Mr. Speaker, the President talked about how we are investing in the green mineral resources of our country, the management and exploitation of the green minerals of our country, natural resources. Mr. Speaker, the President also spoke very brilliantly about the agricultural sector and the transformation which is taking place in the agricultural sector of our country. So is it also, Mr. Speaker, that the President gave an account of how we are working our way out of the debilitating consequences of COVID and the Russian-Ukraine war. But Mr. Speaker, having said all of this, our friends from the other side have been contributing to this debate, and it is abundantly clear, Mr. Speaker, that the entire message our opponents have, they have three messages, Mr. Speaker, as I listen to them, three fundamental messages. The first message the National Democratic Congress minority and their party have, Mr. Speaker, is Baumia. Mr. Speaker, their second message is Baumia. Their third message is Baumia. Mr. Speaker, everything about them is Baumia. But Mr. Speaker, let me submit first of all that we welcome happily and heartily that a vote for Akufo-Addo is a vote for Baumia is a vote for Akufo-Addo. Mr. Speaker, a vote for Baumia should be a vote for Akufo-Addo because Akufo-Addo's record as compared to Mohammed's record is like chalk and cheese, like day and night. It's worlds apart. Mr. Speaker, on every sector of Ghanaian life, whether the educational sector, Akufo-Addo has outperformed Mahama. Whether it's the economy, Akufo-Addo has outperformed Mahama. Mr. Speaker, whether it's agriculture, Akufo-Addo has outperformed Mahama. Mr. Speaker, whether it's employment, Akufo-Addo has outperformed Mahama. Mr. Speaker, and so if this was going to be the yardstick for the December 7th general elections, that a vote for Baumia is a vote for Akufo-Addo, then there will be no contest. Mr. Speaker, because quite clearly, if we take ourselves out of the propaganda, and we take sector by sector, and we take indicators, and we take indices, Mr. Speaker, and we take hardcore data in terms of record between the 8 years of the NDC Atamils Mahama administration and that of Akufo-Addo. Mr. Speaker, the record is not comparable. Akufo-Addo, of course, when it comes to road sector, the Akufo-Addo government has built more roads than the Mahama administration. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to agriculture, Mahama's best agricultural growth was some 1.7%. In fact, cross-sector grew at -%. Mr. Speaker, today, agriculture is growing about more than 6%. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to education, as I've just been articulating, in the educational sector, Akufo-Addo is investing more in education than Mahama has done. Mr. Speaker, even with COVID and the global geopolitical situation, indices to indices, the Akufo-Addo economy post-COVID and the Mahama economy without all the external factors, Akufo-Addo's economy is far better than Mahama's economy. Mr. Speaker, so let the point be made clearly. Nobody is running from Akufo-Addo's record. Baumia said it yesterday, and I was present at the inauguration of the National Campaign and Manifesto Committees of the New Patriotic Party for 2024 general election. And he said, and I paraphrase him, he said, we are going to prosecute our campaign on the basis of Akufo-Addo's record. And so a vote for Baumia should be a vote for Akufo-Addo. Mr. Speaker, and let me say, Mr. Speaker, and above all, Mr. Speaker, what makes it exciting that not only is Akufo-Addo's record better, Baumia's vision is clearer. And when Baumia mounted the podium to give highlights of his vision, all of this country was in awe. The country was excited. The country was captivated. The country saw hope in the vision that Baumia articulated. Mr. Speaker, our friends have elected their presidential candidate for close to 2 years. And yet, the candidate has not been able to articulate a vision for the development of this country. Mr. Speaker, what is the candidate's vision? Bawumia was elected on 4th November 2023. 3 months down the road, Bawumia has articulated a vision for this country. He set up his campaign team. He set up his manifesto committee. Bawumia has shown that he has clarity of vision. Bawumia has shown that he is decisive. And Bawumia has shown that he is taking this country to the next chapter. And Mr. Speaker, when they were pushed down the wall and when they were pinned down, they said 24-hour economy. Is that not what they said? 24-hour economy. Mr. Speaker, the last time they were in government, the last time President Mahama was at the helm of affairs of this country, Mr. Speaker, for 4 years, the Hon Abu Jinapor, Member of Parliament for Yape Kosogo, talks about lights going off yesterday and talks about lights going off this afternoon. Mr. Speaker, lights went off yesterday. That is correct. Lights went off this afternoon. That is correct. Ghanaians went through inconveniences yesterday. That is correct. They will go through inconveniences as a result of lights off this afternoon. Mr. Speaker, that is correct. But Mr. Speaker, Ghanaians certainly do not have a short memory. They do not have a short memory. For 4 years, what we experienced yesterday and what we are experiencing this afternoon, we experienced it for 4 continuous years. And what are they telling us, Mr. Speaker? Where are we beginning the comparison from? A comparison of Dumso, of yesterday, of today, of 48 hours, as opposed to 4 good years? Mr. Speaker, and what is more, Mr. Speaker? What is more about the 24-hour economy? At the time the lines went off for 4 years, Mr. Speaker, carpenters could not work. Welders could not work. Mr. Speaker, we all saw stories of coal stores closing down. We saw ice water sellers who could not look after their families. Mr. Speaker, thousands and billions of small industries had to close down. 4 years. You could not provide a 12-hour economy. You couldn't put the lights on for 12 hours. Ghanaians did not have economy for 12 hours. Welders did not have economy for 12 hours. They are coming to tell us about 24-hour economy. So you can let them come again. They certainly do not have a vision. And so let me conclude, Mr. Speaker, by submitting and doing so forcefully that on 27th of this month, we saw before this august house a president who has a clarity of thought, a president who is candid, a president who is labored and worked for this country. So yes, a president who acknowledges, and he said it, that there are challenges, that there are difficulties, that as I speak to you today, there are thousands and millions of Ghanaians who have completed university and who cannot find employment. That is correct. So Speaker, a president who admits that today we are having to deal with inflation and we're having to deal with the cost of everyday goods and services. That is correct. So Speaker, a president who acknowledges that we have to do something about wages of public sector workers. But Mr. Speaker, that said, there are 2 things we should never, and I respectfully urge Ghanaians never to concede to. The first one is the suggestion that is being made that this president has run this country into a ditch. No, it is not correct. We all know the reasons for the difficulties we are having to deal with. But the fact also remains that there is indeed light at the end of the tunnel. And all the indices, all the indicators, and all the statistics and data suggest that there is light at the end of the tunnel. So, Speaker, and secondly, and even more importantly, that based on the message of the State of the Nation, where do we take this country to? What should be the next chapter of this country? What should be the next level of this country? Mr. Speaker, the next chapter should be another 4 years of dwindling economic fortunes, of economic growth, which was stagnant for 4 good years. Not on one occasion under the Mahama administration for 4 years did we even cross 4% of GDP growth. We should go back to that, Mr. Speaker. We should go back to the situation where even without external factors, adverse external factors, we did not have the kind of economic situation that we have today. We should go back to that. We should go back to Dumso. We should go back to the people who are coming to review free senior high school, which is tantamount to cancelling it, jettisoning it. We should go back to that. No. Mr. Speaker, we should go with Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia, who is going to take this country to the next level, who has given bold solutions to deal with the problems of our country. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, who has articulated a clear vision, who has said he's going to build a digital economy in our country, Mr. Speaker, which is what the Scandinavians have done and seen economic transformation, who is going to deal with corruption by using transparency through digitization. Let us go for Bawumia for the next chapter and the next level. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.